There you go.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Here's
thing.
Jonathan May. The Penguin is 1,000 times better than Agatha. DC is about to become the best comic book movie dealers in 2025. Superman. He followed that up. Speaking of closed mind, tell us more, Dan. Listen, this is a public service announcement to all of you out there. Tim is not going to listen to me. Jared won't listen to me. Jonathan won't listen to me. You won't listen to me either. The token trolls who fight me and Tim every week, and that Tim doesn't realize he's behaving just like them right now. They're not going to listen to me. But if you want better mental health going forward, just please listen to me right now. When you hear about a piece of media that is about to be released and it raises, your spidey sense, your tinglers, it seems suspect to you. It feels off. You feel like, man, I'm not going to like that, right? Don't be a completist. You don't have to run out and consume everything that comes out. You don't have to watch everything, read everything. There's too much stuff in the wide world to take in all of it, right? If you have some level of interest, here's what you do. Don't go and get the opinions of the people who don't like it. Get the opinions of the people who do like it. Have them describe what's good about it. And if everything they say is good about it sounds absolutely nails on a chalkboard awful to you, feel confident that you were right and you're not going to like it, and don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your energy. The only reason you could ever watch something and be upset is if they tricked you. If they told you it was going to be one thing that you thought you might like, and then you watched it and you're like, that was awful. Then you could be mad. And I have been tricked. I have gotten mad, but it's rare. They'll tell you what they're making. Most of the time, even if they try to lie, something will give it away. There'll be a hint and you'll be like, that sounds bad. And then you could suss it out before you waste your time. It's not that hard. It really isn't. And that's the other thing. You could admit that these things are well made. They could be well crafted and you could still not like it. There's all kinds of weepy chick flicks out there that I'm sure all the actors are doing great performances or whatever. But I'm not going to like it. So I don't watch it. This is why I don't watch The Batman or The Penguin, because I'm not going to like it. Why would I do that? I don't want to be the troll. I don't want to be the token troll. You don't know you will hate a movie until you try it. No, you do. You can. You do know. Tim knew he was going to hate Agatha, and he does. And then the Batman made almost $800 million at the box office, 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. 85% of the critics watched it and liked it. Now, the critics mean nothing. 5% of the critics like The Acolyte. So that doesn't mean a thing. 87% of audience scores were positive. Again, the people that it was made for really like it. I'm sure it is well crafted. Just like that wine I don't drink.
This show was that way. I mean, it's worth noting that Agatha, and I said that from the very beginning. The biggest problem that I had when I read the Rotten Tomatoes reviews was that it was reviewed significantly higher than a lot of other Marvel content. And the reason I think is because the only people who were reviewing it, both the audience and the reviewers, were people that had kind of gone in with a positive feel. And so it's a little different than some other stuff. I mean, it got higher than a lot of Marvel content. So yeah.
So that's the thing. And it's great because we get to have these conversations. I'm glad you're willing to subject yourself to things that you're going to hate.
I do, but all the time.
And I used to be like that too. But at a certain point, something just broke in me. And, I'm 45 years old and life is short. And there's so much content that I know I will enjoy out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to waste time watching things that I know I'll hate. Like, again, if people are trying to convince you while it's good and the things that they say just make you think it's worse, then you know it's not for you. And that's fine. I'm never, ever, 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 unless I lose a bet, going to sit through the but I can't tell you that
you'll stumble across it accidentally on TNT one night, Dan, and you'll just be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know what I mean? You'll do it eventually. It happens to the best of us, right?
But I'm not going to tell you that it's not well made. The cinematography is probably. I don't know. I'll never know. I'm not interested. I'm not. See, Tim thought he would like it. Did you go in thinking you would like it?
There's a few things when I went in that I didn't know. Okay, first of all, I didn't know that it was almost 3 hours. So that was something I didn't know going in. I mean, I kept looking at my watch at about 11:30. I was like, oh boy, they haven't even sort of wrapped this up yet, you know. So that was number one. But yeah, when I went in, I basically went in with a completely open mind. Okay. I went in with a completely open mind. And my biggest complaint with the Batman was that, and this is kind of a thing that I think Marvel is kind of struggling with as well. So we'll kind of tie this back to Agatha a little bit. There was, genre-wise, it just had no identity, right? Was it a film noir? Was it a suspense thriller? Was it a procedural crime drama? Was it a superhero film? Was it a mob film? There were a lot of different things that they tried to mix elements in for, and that's kind of where I'm at with Agatha as well, right? I feel like Agatha is trying to mix in elements of different genres without being a different genre. All right. The reason that it worked for WandaVision is because they went full gamut. They went all the way in, right? They didn't just try to set up something in the style of the Dick Van Dyke Show. They tried to recreate the Dick Van Dyke Show, and everybody around was playing along, right?
Right.
It's not like that now. It's like, okay, we're going to have a 70s jam session, or okay, we're going to have a 2000s wine party. That's definitely different genre mixing, but the characters are aware, so it's completely different. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just changing costumes now. So that's kind of the thing. I think when there's no direction to what kind of a genre you have, and that's kind of where I went in with something like the Batman. And a lot of times when I go into a project that I kind of am a little iffy on, that's one of the big things is this what I think it is, right? Is this genre-wise what I think it is? And if it's not genre-wise what I think it is, if it kind of has a little bit of that identity crisis, that's one of those things that it's immediately in the negative column for me mentally. And the reason is because I went into that movie, or I'm watching that TV show for a certain reason. I'm watching that because I want a certain itch tickled. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if I'm not going to get that, you at least need to tell me what you are going to give me and give me a good version of that. Okay. And so that's kind of where I think a lot of those negative feelings come in for a lot of different fans on a lot of these different movies and TV shows. So, yeah.
Like, I am looking forward to Superman. I think that the fact that DC brought in James Gunn is good. My faith is shaking with James Gunn, because DC's, he told us The Flash was great. But DC and Marvel are on opposite paths. There was a tone that worked in superhero movies for a very long time. Iron Man came out. Marvel took over the cinematic universe of the world. Cinemas everywhere. Marvel dominated. And then people started criticizing them for having the same tone. Everything feels the same. It's all the same. It's all just gruel, So they started trying to vary that tone. At the same time that they did that, DC was having success with the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Yeah,
which
realistic.
Were much more grounded. Yeah, they were much more grounded and realistic. By the end, they got kind of fantastical. Dark Knight Rises is not the highlight of that trilogy. But
the exploding concrete. Yeah. All right.
So DC took the lesson of like people are beating up Marvel for being a little bit too quippy, a little too witty, a little not serious enough. And they decided to be ashamed that they're making superhero movies. They're embarrassed of it. They don't like that they're making them. And they decided that they're going to do the opposite of Marvel, and they're going to go, oh, so very serious. They're going to do Christopher Nolan times a million. They're going to get so grounded that they're underground. They're in a cave. You know what I'm saying? It's not even going to be a superhero anymore. You're going to see a Batman movie that's basically Batman in a cheap knockoff of Seven. They're going to take Batman's best villain, and Batman's not even going to be around. It's going to be a cheap knockoff of a Martin Scorsese movie. They're going to follow that up with some weird musical, because these are all for film people. You're going to get a Penguin show that's, and I've read the raves about it. It's a serious mob drama show without Batman in it. Batman's not going to be in it. He's not in it. He will not appear.
Yeah.
It's called the Penguin. And the character is called the Penguin. He doesn't have a big long nose. He doesn't have cigarettes on a stick. He doesn't have a top hat. He doesn't waddle. He's not the flamboyant. It's a very grounded mob show. That just it's in Penguin drag. It's in Batman drag. I like a serious mob show, but if I want that, you know what is also available on Max for me to watch, Tim?
The Sopranos. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's right there. I can right past the cheap Batman knockoff and watch Tony Soprano all the way through again, because it's always amazing, because it is what it is. It's not trying to be this and a little bit of something else.
Yeah,
you know what
I agree.
You know, so I don't need the Batman version of The Sopranos. I don't need the Batman version of Seven. I don't need the Batman version of
and I think and to be fair, you know, DC has taken a few steps to try to change things up a little bit. Shazam changed things up a little bit. Blue Beetle changed things up a little bit. Suicide Squad changed things up a little bit. So they've kind of tried to work some different genre in. The difference that I think is Kevin Feige almost has this obsession with doing each particular genre in the MCU and trying to work it in. He's trying to work in, you know, a comedy. He's trying to work in a romance. He's trying to work in a drama. He's trying to work in every genre that he can just pull in. I don't necessarily think that is the way that you should run a superhero franchise. I think that the difference between comic book fans and a lot of other fans is very simple. Comic book fans just expect you to give us what we've always seen, but we want to see it come to life. All right. We would go and buy the comic books, and we would read them when we were kids. Some of them buy them and read them well into our adulthood. But we see these representations of these heroes, and on a two-dimensional page, it really doesn't do much for us. We want to see that brought to life, and we've got expectations that come with that. And it's not really hard to meet those expectations. Just stick to the story, make it look like this in live action. That's pretty much what it is. And they don't want to do that. Okay. For some reason, they don't want to do that. And I think the main reason they don't want to do that is because they think that a lot of these stories have been played. Like, yes, the Batman origin story has been played. The Spider-Man origin story has been played. A lot of these origin stories have been played, but there's a lot of these stories that haven't even been told, and they're great stories. And that's kind of what I want the MCU to get back to, is get back to some of these origin stories on some of these major characters that are just great. We need to get that, man. We need to get that from some of these. And that's just kind of what we're missing in the MCU right now, I think.
Well, Marvel went the opposite direction of DC. They're going more comedic, more just fun, silly, you know, and that's the thing. I'm okay with it being fun, you know, because I like comedy. I like serious stuff too, but within this context, I'm much more willing to go along with something fun. If you're going for something fun and a little bit silly and a little bit funny, if it has a little bit of humor to it, I'm going to say that's okay. If you're going for something serious and then it's stupid, that's just going to drive me nuts. I can't take it. And
that's where I'm at on Agatha. I know you're not there, but that's where I'm at. Is this just stupid is the word that comes to my mind.
But
Okay.
it's
And
not
it's not
serious.
because, and it's not because it's not because I'm, trying to pull it apart and it is,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a dumb plot. You know what I
Well,
mean? And
well, see,
so anyway,
you have a lower threshold for the humor than I do. Like when it gets too humorous, you don't
I have
like it.
laughed like 0 times in this show, like
No,
0.
what I'm saying is when the tone is too light,
Yeah.
it offends.
Yeah. It just depends. I mean, I love Guardians. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
nothing but light tone,
but Guardians, it captured a lightness that was different. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They didn't put they danced right on the razor's edge,
Yeah.
uh,
They did.
and they have went over the edge in some of the other films, and I'm fine when they do. That doesn't bother me. Like the difference between everybody loved Ragnarok, so they turned that comedy meter up to 11
On Love
in
and
Love and Thunder, and lost everybody.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was funny. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I'm just like, oh, that's funny. I will ride with you when you're being funny.
Yeah.
When you're being serious, like we disagree. Like your worst thing ever in all of Marvel was She-Hulk. You hate it because it had this unserious tone that you just couldn't
I wouldn't
stand.
say it was the unserious tone. I think there was just a lot of unclear direction in that particular project, and I'm still not sure what they were trying to achieve. It started out kind of like this Ally McBeal ripoff with a Hulk lawyer, and then it did kind of bleed into a little bit of the comedy, and then by the end it was just they brought in Scar and all these other characters, and then she jumped off the screen and said none of that even matters, and you don't even know if that's even going to happen anymore. The storyline with Abomination and all that, you don't even know if that really happened now. So it's just unclear direction. It makes no sense. And that's the thing. That's the problem that I had. That's the problem that I had with She-Hulk, because nothing. You don't even know what matters and what didn't matter in that show. You know what I mean?
It's like Blazing Saddles at the end because it's just
or Holy Grail, right? At the end of Holy Grail, you're just like, this was the stupidest ending I could possibly think of. Is the cops coming in and taking everybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, what did I just watch? And that's kind of how I was at the end of She-Hulk. I was just like,
but see
this is a superhero show. You know what I mean?
I'm willing to ride with that because I like the picking it apart. I like the satire of it. The show that drives me crazy, short of Secret Invasion, and everybody should hate Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Like you should just everybody should have a white heart burning, just like, why would you do that? Why? Yeah. Why? Okay. Short of that, my second worst Marvel project ever that I actually sat through. Because again, folks, for me to sit through one that I don't like, they got to fool me. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have never seen Eternals, and I'm much better for it. Did I miss out by skipping Eternals, Tim?
I have seen it one whole time, and I told you everything about it that you need to know. So there you go.
See, it's great to have a partner in this nerd life. I've never seen Black Panther 2 because I didn't want to sit through it like a 2.5, 3 hour Black Panther movie without Black Panther in it. That was not, it was not appealing to me. I was just like, no, Black Panther's not in the Black Panther movie.
But I think you were actually getting ready to go see it. You were thinking about it. And I told you, I said, Dan, it's an almost 3 hour movie about Shuri. And you were like, oh, never mind.
I was trying to figure out how they were going to overcome it. And I know Tim ran out, and I did. I got a hold of him. I'm like, is Black Panther in this? Is there a Black Panther? And he's like, it's about Shuri. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks.
And it's 3 hours long, in case you're curious.
Yeah. So I haven't seen that, but the thing that I did watch, because I thought I might like it, and they fooled me, and they actually strung it along to where I watched the whole thing. That is one part of being a completist. Once I start it, I have to finish it. I won't watch 20 minutes of a movie and then turn it off because I'm not liking it. That doesn't. I won't watch 3 episodes of a show and then stop. I just can't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was so awful. It was just mind-numbingly stupid.
That was one of those.
All being so serious about being so stupid, and I just can't. I can't abide.
I think my biggest problem with Falcon and Winter Soldier is that it was an incredibly busy storyline. You had like
Mhm.
3 different villains that they were fighting between the Flag Smashers and Walker and Val and it's just stupid. It was very, very front loaded with action. They had a great action scene in that beginning of the first episode. Okay.
Right.
And they actually had some good stuff happen throughout the first couple episodes. Where they lost people was they started like, let's go to the bank and try to get a loan, and let's work on the boat for a while, and let's, have an 80s workout montage, and all of that is the kind of thing. And then it got to the very end, which we all know the speech, the "you got to do better" speech, was just awful. He doesn't have super strength, but he apparently can pick up a car. There's a lot of things in there that you're just like, what are they thinking here? And then on top of all of that, just not even thinking to call Steve Rogers and ask him what he thinks about everything was probably just the dumbest thing possible. But that was one of those shows I started, and Secret Invasion was too. I started completely open-minded, and by episode 2 or 3, I was like, hey, this might turn into something. And then by episode like 4 or 5, I was just like, oh no, I could see the direction. And that's the problem with a lot of these Disney Plus series. A lot of these Disney Plus series are that way. And I can already see the direction of Agatha. That's part of the reason that I'm already kind of like, oh no, you know what I mean? Because I know what it's going to be, and I already know I'm not going to like it.
Yeah. The Falcon, I really did. I was not crazy. I don't like legacy versions of heroes. I don't think anybody really does.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even work in the comic books. If nobody will run out and buy the Dick Grayson Batman comic books.
Green Lantern is like the only one where people don't really care. Other than that,
built into the concept of Green Lantern is he's part of a corps.
Yeah, exactly.
There are always more Green Lanterns.
It's like the Nova Corps, right? It's like,
It makes sense. If you're going to hand down your mantle, right, in all of comicdom, if there's no fan appeal for Dick Grayson as Batman, right, then there's no appeal for anybody as anything else. You just got to stick with the OG. Because if Dick Grayson ain't getting it done, then Bucky's not getting it done, and Sam's not getting it done, and Randy as Iron Man is not getting it done, and Jean-Paul Vallée as Batman is not getting it done, and Clark's son as Superman. None of it. It will not work. The origins become too convoluted, because first you got to establish the origin of the first guy, then you got to establish how he passed it down to the next guy, and like nobody wants to follow that. Nobody.
Yeah.
So, but I had pause going into Falcon and Winter Soldier because I knew that's what they were doing. But I did like Falcon and all the other movies. I like Anthony Mackie. I like Bucky. And Marvel hadn't burned me yet. Marvel had not went down this road of making miss after miss after miss. So I'm like, this will probably be good. My expectations were high. And like you said, I spent the whole time yelling at the screen like Steve's not.
And you were just coming off WandaVision. That was the big thing. WandaVision was a pleasant surprise. I thought I was going to hate WandaVision. I said as much to all of my friends. I said I could not be less interested in this show. They had that hook at the end of the second episode. I was on board after that. It was 1,000% like, wow, I can't believe they got me that hard, And so, it can be done. You know what I mean? It can be done if the approach is there. But I just feel like the approach has not been there for them for a while. And that's just the way I feel about it. But hey, we are very excited about Agatha and what could be possibly coming. Dan is excited because he likes the show. I'm excited because I get to come up here and put my critical muscles to flex every week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So join us next week. We hope to have Jared with us. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do it. We definitely love having good banter with everybody back and forth, and then you'd be able to see when our videos come up. So, hey, thanks so much. Be good, and we'll see you guys next week.